Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna take a look at a super strong double dragon line for the Retro Cup right now in the Go Battle League. We're going to have a very strong meta team here that's going to win you quite a lot of games. At least for me, this team was super safe to use and gave me a lot of free though, because dragon type Pokemon right now in the current meta are kinda free. This Pokemon here itself, for example the Kingdra, has basically zero weaknesses other than like other dragon type Pokemon, where you're also going to be just neutral against it. The thing is right now that for the Retro Cup, both steel type Pokemon as well as fairy type Pokemon are going to be not allowed to be used. And those are the only typings that are going to be able to resist the damage of dragon type Pokemon, which makes this team so strong. We're going to have here the lead of Lantern, which is going to try to deal with most of the ice type Pokemon. That's mainly the reason why it's here, because for example if you use a fighter in the lead, you're going to be a little bit weak against something like a Frostless, while the Lantern should be pretty much able to deal with any kind of ice type Pokemon in the current meta. You try to bait them out with your Kingdra, which is still neutral against it thanks to the water typing, and then try to sweep endgame with the Altaria, which worked out already super well here. Let's take a look at the next game. We're going to have a Quagsire in the lead. A very bad lead for me, as our lead is going to be get completely hardwalled by the Quagsire. If you don't have the Shadow Kingdra, you can also use something like a Dragonair, especially the Shadow Dragonair as a safe swap. If you don't have the Altaria in the back, you can also use something like the Dragonite, the Como-O, the Hakomo. Oh, I think it's also called. I think it's called Hakomo as well. But yeah, like those dragon type Pokemon, even a Gutra might work out fairly well here. But now we're going to take a look here what the Kingdra can do. We are 2 shields down. It's going to be a little bit of a tough one, right? Maybe not. We're going to have here a Recruit coming in here right now, which we're going to be able to double debuff here, and we're going to try to maybe catch a move here onto the Altaria, as you know that they have a Quagsire in the back, so they cannot really do anything with the Arachnoid in this game in general. The entire team walls Arachnoid here, which is really cool to see. But now in comes the opponent's Quagsire, which gonna go for the Stone Edge. We can go for our own Sky Attack here. This will get the shield, of course, and I still have 2 shields left. But they are forced to go for another Stone Edge, and they can can't overfarm as much anymore. As the Stone Edge going to hit, we can go back into our Kingdra here, Shadow Kingdra. It's just going to do a ton of damage against the opponents here as well. You can use also the normal one if you take some more hits, but the Shadow variant of course does more damage and is easier to basically win the matchups in a 2-shield scenario. Fairly decent lead for us here, but in comes now the Lickitung. We're just going to weaken it a little bit with a Thunderbolt from our Lantern here. With that one, we're going to be able to now put them into 1 Sky Attack range for the Altaria after some farm down damage there as well, which is fairly decent for us, as we're going to be able to take those Body Slams super easily here with our Altaria. And of course, we can kind of try to overfarm by a little bit here as well, hopefully, but I should have overfarmed by a little bit more, to be fair. I think I would have been able to at least go for like 4 more fast moves or something, and then I would have been able to A, have a little bit less health, so the opponent doesn't get as much farm, but also B, I would be able to get to the Sky Attack where we die on right now, which is really sad that I didn't get there, because now the opponent is not in range for Surf. So this was a slight misplay by me. With the opponent going to swap out now into the Dance Boss, I'm going to try to get some more damage onto them again here. Thunderbolt coming through, Thunderbolt going to some decent damage, and I can go back into my Kingdra. And this will allow me now to use not the shield for the first one, but shield for the second one, because I can definitely get to another move here. And I should be able to farm them down afterwards, hopefully at least. We see the Dragonite coming through, and I will be able to get the full farm down through here as well, as I can go for the Octazooka. This will get the shield from the opponent and get the double debuff, and this will allow us now to survive those fast moves very easier, as we can go ahead and go for another Octazooka. And we're gonna get no debuff here, but we're gonna get them super low already just thanks to Dragon Breath. And I think with a debuff here as well, maybe even a Shadow Ball wouldn't be enough to knock me out from this range, because double debuff is actually going to hurt them quite a bit there. But this is going to be a good game. We're going to encounter a Lantern in the lead. I'm going to swap out because our Lantern is our only answer really for Ice-type Pokemon. We're going to have here the bait of the Kingdra for those Ice-type Pokemon, as you're going to shield up a move from the Lantern. I can go for the Octazooka here right now, trying to get the shield from the opponent back as well. As they're going to let this move go through, I will be able to now use another shield against them, but farm them all the way down. And also allow me to realign here. And we're going to get out the Frostless, which is really good for me to realign, because now if I get the debuff here, it's going to be a whole different game, and we're going to get the debuff, and I can swap out onto the charge move, which is going to be the Avalanche as well, onto my Lantern, and now the opponent does basically no damage against me anymore. I can go for the Surf against the opponent. This will put them into farm down range for all my Pokemon basically, but they're gonna most likely even go down from a Lantern Spark here right now. And now the Ice type is gone. In comes now a Golem. This is not good for me because Golem has access to the move Stone Edge, as well as something like Wall Charge and Rock Throw. Yeah, Rock Throw theoretically as a fast move, but we see already it's the Volt Switch. But Rock Blast, which is going to be a very difficult move to deal with for our Altaria. We're going to be able to get some energy again, gone here onto our Dragon type, but in comes now our Altaria. And the opponent makes a quite important misplay in my opinion. They go for the Wild Charge here. This is going to get the debuff onto them, but they're staying in, which will allow me to go for one Sky Attack. And with a double debuff here, we're going to be able to now knock them out, and even the Lantern has no chance of winning this game. And we can now take a look at the next game coming up. We're going to have a Frostless in the lead, fairly decent for us. In comes now though a Dragon type with the Altaria. Now most I should have acted a little bit faster, but I am not doing that. I'm going to go ahead and go for my Lantern. Now I'm going to go ahead and go for the Kingdra, because Kingdra can just shield once, and I should be able to go for an Octazooka against the opponent's Ice type. And if we get the debuff, there's going to be a whole different game here right now. We can go straight for the Octazooka here as well against the opponent's Frostless, and I just have to hope that I get the debuff, because then they cannot farm me down before I can get to another Octazooka. And they are not gonna get the debuff, and this is just a lottery of Kingdra. This game would have been completely different if I got the 50% chance there. It was all around that chance, because they're going to have a Dragonite in the back, and now as we have no shields left anymore, I am gonna go for one Thunderbolt. Maybe could have baited here as well, maybe it would have helped me a little bit. But honestly, the Dragonite going to have a great time against my Altaria here. I will be able to get them super low, but they're still going to have a move stored afterwards. As you're going to see here, I'm just going to forfeit this game and call it a day. Amazing lead for us now. We're going to have a Pidgeot and now a Snorlax swapping into us. We can go for the Thunderbolt immediately here, which is going to weaken them quite a bit, allowing us to swap now into our Altaria, and we can just farm them all the way down. And as we're going to see here right now, I can let this move go through. It's going to be a Body Slam, but I can now farm them all the way here, hopefully. As you see the opponent going for another Body Slam, I can go ahead and now farm them all the way down. I still have some health left if they have an Ice type, which they are not having. They are going to go into their Pidgeot. I still would be able to go for some chargeables here, but like this, I can still threaten a shield here, maybe even, with the Sky Attack, which is coming in here right now. Let's take a look at this one. We're going to get now the Sky Attack through, and we're actually going to have a shield and switch advantage, which is really important, as they're going to be able to now let this move go through. And as said before, there is no answer for Dragon Breath, so it's completely safe to just randomly swap into your Kingdra in this game, or like in general in this meta, which is so good to know, especially here my opponent going to go for the debuff, which is okay for me. I can go for the Octazooka as well. No, they're going to go for the bait, I meant. As I can try to get the debuff. I don't get the debuff here against the opponent, which is fairly bad for me, to be fair. Especially if they can bait me here again, and they're going to do exactly that. And I don't get to the Octazooka, and I think I should have got to the Octazooka, but the game bugged a little bit there. But I'm still going to be able to now have a pretty decent matchup with my own Lantern. I can go for the Surf, knock them out, and with that, this game is over again, as they're going to be able to now have a great matchup against the Pidgeot, going for a Surf here. There is nothing that the opponent can do here to knock me out. A Brave Bird is just not going to be enough, and the Surf is coming through here, knocking out the opponent and winning me this game. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next game. We're going to have now the next opponent coming up here, Lantern against an Altaria. We're going to swap out immediately into our Kingdra here, which is going to have a ton of damage that they can put out here, of course, but it's going to be not the ideal matchup that I really like to see. I'm going to shield up once, and they're going to swap out into their Lantern. I feel like it's fairly obvious that I'm going to go for the outrage here, so I'm going to go for the bait first, Octazooka coming through, and we're going to get no debuff here. This is so unfortunate, as they're going to let this move go through here, because I cannot really use another shield. But I will be able to go ahead and go into my Lantern. And we got some valuable information here as well. I think that they're most likely not going to have an Ice type in the bag with that, because they most likely would have stopped that one out as well, because they don't want to have it aligned against the Lantern. But instead they went into their own Lantern, which kind of makes me believe that they're kind of weak against maybe something like an Altaria in the bag, which is going to be here definitely the case with the Quagsire. We're still going to shield up the potential Stone Edge, which you're going to definitely have a great shield up here, because it would do a ton of damage, around like 60 to 70%. But we will be able to now get the final shield of the opponent. They can still go for one Stone Edge here for sure, but I expect them to swap out afterwards. So I'm not going to throw immediately. It's going to be the Altaria, but at this point of time we should be able to get them super low already. But it really depends. Can we actually still get to a move? I'm going to swap out because I know that they get to the Mud Bomb fairly fast. So I try to now go ahead and go for the Surf, and we're gonna get this one off. We're gonna get them super low here right now. And at this point of time, I hope that they just don't get to the Stone Edge in time. Can we farm them down in time? Is this already a Stone Edge? It's just a Mud Bomb. We will find out. It is a Stone Edge, and they're sadly going to be able to win this game here. Good game to the opponent, well played by them. I think I could have played it a little bit better and maybe would have had a better chance of winning this game, but very well played by the opponent there. Let's take a look at the next game. We're going to have the LilyNiRiain against us. This is going to be also an awkward matchup for us, but we can go ahead and just swap out into our Kingdra, and we're going to get out the Lantern of the opponent. This time around, I'm going to go again for the Octazooka, trying to get the debuff to survive some more moves, and we're going to get the shield, but again, we don't get the debuff, which is really unfortunate, but maybe we can get a one at the second try here. Let's take a look. We are going to get the debuff here perfectly fine for us. This is really good for us. We're going to see the Thunderbolt coming through. I'm going to get some damage onto them, and I can swap out into my Lantern. And at this point of time, I could just try to farm them all the way down. Even if they go for Thunderbolt, they are double debuffed at this point of time. And as you can see, it doesn't really do too much damage. I go for a Surf. I lose the CMP tie against the opponent, which is really not ideal. But the Thunderbolt doesn't really do too much damage. I should have just went for a 0 bubble here, to be fair. But I'm just going to knock them out. And we're going to see now the LilyNiRiain coming back in. I can go for another charge move here right now. It's going to be the Thunderbolt. I can swap out eventually onto the charge move, maybe onto the Altaria. But in comes now the Jellicent of the opponent, where we can go ahead and go for the Sky Attack against them. This Sky Attack going to go through and going to do some pretty decent damage. And of course, they're going to shield up the first move. They usually don't run Ice Beam nowadays anymore. But here we're going to see now the Shadow Ball coming through. And you can go ahead and go for another charge move against the opponent. As the Sky Attack going to get the final shield off the opponent. I can go for a Shadow Ball still, but I can farm them down afterwards, which should put them into now a range area. I might even get to a Sky Attack still. Let's see the opponent going to go into the LilyNiRiain. I can catch the move onto my Lantern. And we will see that I can still even reach the Surf here, which is an amazing thing here for me, as you're gonna put them now into range where you can just knock them out with the Surf actually. I actually thought they would survive it, but they didn't. And we can go on into the next game. We're going to have a Machamp in the lead. I'm going to swap out and we're going to get out the Noctowl. Again, if we can get the debuff with the Octazooka, this game just shifts around. And again, we're going to try to do this here. By going for the Octazooka right now, I would be able to survive another charge move afterwards, then maybe get to another charge move myself. And of course, we don't get the debuff, as basically always in this video. Honestly, you see a lot of times where I'm just not really lucky with that kind of stuff. But it is only a 50% chance, unlike the Registeel where I also never get it, where it's a 66% chance. But like this, we're going to be able to still farm them all the way down. They're going to go into the Machamp, and I can go for one Thunderbolt here. And luckily, they're going to use the shield up here, which will allow us now to put them into range, most likely, where I can go for one Sky Attack in order to knock them out. As they're going to shield up the Ice Punch, which would be double super effective. The Sky Attack is coming through. Is this enough to knock out the opponent's Machamp? It is, and we can now see the LilyNiRiain coming in here right now. This is going to be a fairly decent matchup for me, as I can go ahead and go for Sky Attack, which is going to be a stab and does a lot of damage. My fast move does a lot of damage. We're still going to be able to now farm down the Noctowl as well, and we have 2 Sky Attacks stored, which is going to be enough, of course, to make the opponent quit. And we're going to go into the final game of today's video, which is going to be a Dunsparce in the lead. Dunsparce wins the lead against the Lantern, so it's not really an ideal one, but it also kind of breaks the core between Lantern as well as the Altaria, so that's not ideal at all. I go for the CMP tie here to try to get the Octazooka debuff, and we're actually going to be able to do this here this time around, which is really nice for me, as now I will be able to now stay in here, take the Shadow Ball from the opponent, and I can try to go for the Outrage, but sadly they're gonna get to the move beforehand, and they're gonna go for the Surf in order to knock me out. But this will allow me to now go into my Lantern and farm them all the way down, getting all the energy in the world, and maybe, well, of course, the lead of the Dunsparce is not ideal for me. I still might be able to do enough damage to put them into range where they might want to use a shield against me. But in comes now the Thunderbolt, and in comes now a Surf, and we will try to catch the next incoming Drill Run onto our Altaria, but they're gonna go ahead and go for the charge move here, which will be just the Rock Slide, going to do a ton of damage, and they have, of course, the hardest answer for the Altaria in the back, which is going to be the Frost Blast, which is really annoying for me. Maybe I could have tried to go for the Moonblast here, which would have changed some things around. Great play there by letting this move go through here, but I don't think I would have got to the Moonblast, to be fair. But like this, the opponent has too much energy on their Frost Blast, and sadly, there's not a lot that I can do about this one. It's still going to be a very close game here, but this is going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like, and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye bye!